pass. Fly without boarding pass. Couldn't catch me, I be moving fast. Call me a shooting star. Let 'em know who you are. Flying up in a bar. Wish on a star. Time to show 'em who's in charge. Call me a shooting star. Didn't even get to cross. I said I'm moving too far. Get to glass. Looking at a shooting star. Got more than a couple of people going mad. I swear they're rooting hard. Tell them I'd be big in the game like she went and got them breast implants. I said I'm moving too fast. Didn't even get to glance. I'm ready to eat up track like I'm seated in a restaurant. If you had swag like mine, you know it's best to flaunt. We aren't hating because you aren't. Shining like it's neon. Rock like Kings of Leon. Shooting stars across the galaxy. I stand out, so don't be mad at me. Infiltrate, I'm with my strategy. When I turn up, they might just have to leave. Shooting stars across the galaxy. I stand out, so don't be mad at me. Infiltrate, I'm with my strategy. When I turn up, they might just have to leave. Yeah, shooting. Yeah, shooting. Yeah, shooting. Yeah, shooting shots. Shooting stars. Didn't even get to cross.
The first game we look for, Robbie. Tottenham away. When we got Tottenham away. Tottenham away. When we got Tottenham away.
Good evening, everyone. It's Friday night. It's Tottenham away, the best place to be in town. If you're a Spurs fan, if you're not, you're welcome as well. We're going to be doing our weekly preview, should I say, of the upcoming games this weekend. Some pretty juicy games as well this weekend, has to be said. Let's welcome the panel. We've got brother from another mother, Matthew in the house. How you doing, Matt?
Yeah, really good style. How are you?
Do you know what? I'm had a tiring week, so let's see how we do tonight. Let's see how we go.
Absolutely.
Rafish, how are you doing, my man? Been good?
Hi, Stel. Hey, Matthew. Thanks for having me on. Happy Fridays. You know, like you said, it's been a grueling week with other commitments like work, etc., etc. But it's good to see Premier League football coming back.
Yeah, this international break it's the only positive is none of our players. So, Rafish, you can hear your breathing in the mic. Maybe just mute when you're not speaking, and then it won't be so bad. So yeah, I mean, very quickly on that, do you guys know of any injuries? Is everyone okay? Are we looking? Is anyone 50-50 for Spurs?
I think Son is the one that is 50-50. I think Romero's okay. So the only question mark is Son.
Our striker, our only striker. Well, we've got Villiers, but yeah, Son's a big player for us. All right. Well, any news on Lo Celso and Brian Hill? Are they? In fact, Lo Celso plays for Argentina. He played for Argentina.
Yeah, he came on in both games. For the first game, he came on in injury time, but the second game, I think he got about 15 minutes in the second half. So hopefully, he'll be a good squad player to come on in the second half Monday.
Yeah, at least 30 minutes minimum. I mean, any ideas on what's going on with Bentancur? I know he's back in training, but do we know if he's close to actually playing first team football yet? Or
not yet. Still, no.
Nah. All right. Well, that's one to wait for. Yeah, Matt, were you going to say something?
No, just I think Bentancur's been in training for about a week or 10 days, but I think they're kind of keeping him on the leash. He kind of sounds like he's desperate to get back involved. So we need him. We do need him. So no harm. Another couple of weeks in Cottonwool.
I guess an ACL is one of those injuries you've got to be careful bringing a player back in, because the last thing you want is an aggravation of that, because it's such a major injury. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. Let's quickly say those people in the chat. Big up to everyone tuning in tonight on a Friday. Tot Spurs, Roy, Stuart's in the house, disabled team, William, LA007, Graham's in the house, Richo63. You've got your Merseyside derby this weekend. Ball Bean Counter, Ants in the house, Rob Ayres, Tony Rodriguez from Sweden. We've got Edward Talks, Asana Potatoes, Benjamin's in the house, Spurs 72, Conrad from the USA, Sean Likes in the house, Stewie, JJ, big up to you guys, Ian, 3SS Sports, Zaffa Guna, and Wayne Holland, the Leicester man himself. Big up to you. So, let's have a look at the games this weekend, because there's a fair few. I guess we could go starting with the first game, ending with Spurs Fulham, the last one. But the Merseyside derby, so it's the first game of the weekend, early kickoff tomorrow. I kind of feel like there's no intensity or rivalry in this game anymore. I feel like it's just a dead derby. It used to be, years ago, it used to be so fiery, a real, passionate derby. Now it's just, am I wrong in saying Liverpool going to win by a couple of goals at least?
Yeah, I think the gulf between the two over the last 10, 15 years has become huge. So barring the Goodison match where Everton kind of turned it into a bit of a fight, but at Anfield, I can't see anything other than a comfortable Liverpool win. The only thing you can possibly clutch at is first game back after the international break, potentially. I know Andy Robertson's injured as well, isn't he? So they may catch him cold, but you'd still put your money on Liverpool.
Yeah, but haven't they got Tsimikas? He's a good wing back.
Yeah, I just think he only seems to play when Robertson's injured, so Klopp doesn't seem to be 100% sure on him, but he'll certainly get the minutes now. But I think Robertson's such a big player for them. There's always question marks about Trent Arnold on the right, but Robertson seems to play every game, so that's only favourable for us. If from the reports this week is an operation, so that could be a good 2 to 3 months for Robertson.
Wow. Rathish, Liverpool, Everton at Anfield, are we just waiting for the inevitable? 3 points Liverpool, same old?
I completely agree with Matt. I feel like the gulf in class between two teams is not even close. I mean, Everton in recent times have been scraping the barrel in terms of relegation, trying to stay in the league, whereas Liverpool are trying to bridge the gap to the top end, like to compete with Arsenal and Man City and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I think it's only going to be one-way track. It's going to be one outcome, I think. I know Everton will go there, be organised, but it's the Anfield factor. I'm not sure how they'll cope with that environment. So, yeah, Liverpool have too much quality for them.
In fact, let me have a quick look at the current form. Liverpool have won 3, lost 1. Okay, that was the Spurs game, VAR. And then there was a draw against Brighton. Everton, bloody hell, lost 2, won 2, drawn 1. So, yeah, they're not in great form, are they? They've only won 2 out of the last 5. Yeah, I think Liverpool going to want to bounce back after not winning in the last 2 games as well. It all looks like it's going to be a Liverpool win. Do you know what? Let's get into the predictions on this one. Let's just predict a score. I'm going to say 3-0 Liverpool. Matt?
Yeah, I think cliche first goal. I think if Liverpool score the first goal, I think it'd be a comfortable 3 or 4. If Everton get the first goal, a free kick or something like that, I still think it's a 3 or 4-1. So I think 3 clear goals, either 3-0 or 4-1 Liverpool.
Rathish, what's your prediction?
Yeah, I think just like Matt, I think Liverpool win this by at least 3 clear goals. So I'm going like 4-1, something like that. So
Yeah. we're all predicting 3-1, 4-1. We'll find out what happens, but I think we'll be surprised if it's anything different. The next game up is Brentford Burnley. Now, Burnley are, I mean, they've picked up 1 win, but it was against Luton, I believe, and they just lose every week. I mean, they scrape to draw 1 week, but Brentford haven't been much better. Brentford have been exactly the same, bar not losing and drawing instead. So they're both in pretty bad form. Both are in a relegation battle, and Brentford are the home team. So, do we fancy Brentford as home advantage, or is it just anyone's game? What would you make of this one, Matt?
Do you know, it's only recently I realised how poor results-wise Brentford have been. They've got this reputation as always like a really good team, but I was shocked when I realised how bad results-wise they've been, and it makes me wonder now, because it seems to be this foregone conclusion that Ivan Toney will get sold in January. But if they're, bottom 4, bottom 5 in January, I can't see how they can sell him. So, get back to your question on the game. I think a Brentford home win. I just think Burnley are too open. They play too expansive, and they just don't seem to be able to defend when they haven't got the ball. So I just think this is going to be a Brentford home win.
Brentford home win. It's funny that they're, I believe I was just looking just now. They're
Where are they? 5th from bottom?
Brentford are they're 15th. But it's interesting to see that the games they've lost. I mean, you can understand losing to Newcastle, but it was only just. Brentford, Bournemouth, they drew. Everton clobbered them 3-1. Arsenal scraped past them in the cup. They drew with Nottingham Forest, 10-man Forest. Man United only just beat them, by the way. But if you look at Brentford's games, like, they're not losing badly. If you look at the results,
yeah,
from the start of this season, they drew with Spurs first game of the season and could have beaten us. They beat Fulham. They drew with Palace. They drew with Bournemouth. They only lost by 1 goal at St James's Park. They lost to Everton. They only lost by 1 goal to Brentford, to Arsenal in the cup. They drew to Forest. They only lost by 1 goal to United. So it's not like they're getting smashed. It's not like they're getting heavily beaten. They're losing by 1 goal. They're losing by a goal or drawing games. Whereas if you look at Burnley,
they get
spanked.
They're too open still. it's admirable what companies.
Look at these results, Matt. Look at these results. 3-0 to Man City, 3-1 to Villa. Okay, close game with Nottingham Forest. 5-2 to Spurs. Okay, 1-0 to Man United, but Man United are crap. 4-0 to Salford. Oh no, they won that. 2-0 to Newcastle. 4 goals against Chelsea. Like, they concede a lot of goals, this team.
They're just too. They play such an open game, and in that Premier League, you cannot. With some of the players that they've got who are just learning their trade in the Premier League, it's too naive. And by the time they're in the game, it's 3-0. By the time they wake up, because they actually play some really good football, but it's too late. They're 3-0 down, or, they're just making really bad decisions defensively, and it's costing them goals. So, I hope they stick by company, but if they continue in that style, I can only see them going one way.
I hear you. Rathish, what's your thoughts on this one?
Brentford, Burnley. I think it's a very interesting one because I feel like two teams are not far from each other in terms of points, but like you said, I think Burnley defensively are all over the place. Like, they're coming into this Premier League. Right now, they remind me of Leeds under Bielsa. Like, they can score some goals, but then at the back, they just concede for fun. So, I mean, although just to play a little bit of devil's advocate, Burnley have had a tough start, against Spurs, Man United, Man City, Chelsea. But at the same time, like, you got to make yourselves hard to beat. So, yeah, I think that's them. With Brentford, like, they're missing Tony massively. I mean, at times they look a bit one-dimensional. I mean, they have to find a way to adapt. So I think Brentford will win. I'm predicting 1-0, something like that. It's going to be by the odd goal.
1-0. Matt, what's your prediction?
I think Burnley's Achilles heel is set plays, and I think Brentford are very good attacking balls into the box. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 Brentford, and I think both goals by a throw-in or free kick or corner. I think set plays are going to decide that game.
I'm going to go 2-0 Brentford. I do not think Burnley will score, and I think Brentford will win it. So there's our predictions for that one. The next game up, Bournemouth versus Wolves. Now, another interesting one. Wolves are 14th, Bournemouth are 19th. Bournemouth have had a horrendous start to the season. Wolves, the last 3 games, they haven't lost. Draw, win, draw. They've been playing good football this season. They've been unlucky in some games as well, if I'm going to be honest with you, especially the one at Old Trafford. That was a clear penalty on their player that wasn't given. So, Wolves are Wolves are away. So that gives Bournemouth a bit of hope. But if we look at the previous games, I've clicked on the wrong tab. Let's look at the previous games, see what they've been doing. So Bournemouth, the previous games, they got hammered by Everton, who aren't that great, battered by Arsenal, another 3 goals against Brighton. I mean, they're hemorrhaging loads of goals as well. 3 against Liverpool, 2 against Spurs. So defensively, they look bad, and they're scoring, but they're just defensively pretty poor. And then if we look at Wolves, a really good draw against Aston Villa, and they were down to 10 men. They beat Man City, cracking result. A really poor result against Luton, though, a draw. Beaten by Liverpool, narrowly lost to Crystal Palace. They beat Everton, that's nothing special. Brighton battered them 4-1. Man United, we know that wasn't a fair result, but I don't know. Wolves seem to be a team that's got a bit more about them. And defensively, they're not as bad as Bournemouth. Matt, what do you make of it?
Do you know what? I watch Wolves, and Wolves are one of the most entertaining so far this season. They've played some really, really good stuff. The guy up front, the Brazilian guy, is it Kuna? Is it Mateus Cunha, the guy up front for Wolves?
Cunha,
If-
Cunha.
If he could score, honestly, it'd be like a 60, 70. If you look at his CV, I think he's gone to Atletico Madrid and, he's had some decent moves. But when you watch him, he's got all the kind of components. He's big, he's strong, he's quick. He just cannot score. So I think if you look at a lot of their games, I mean, they absolutely battered Liverpool in the first half. And if he, I think Neto put a ball on a sixpence for him, and I think he either went with his head or his knee or something and absolutely messed it up. But I like Wolves. I think if they could get a goal scorer, they would be 7th or 8th in the league. They really would. So I think Bournemouth play almost similar to Burnley. They've got this approach they play this expansive game, and when you've got the ball, we're going to get the ball off you and we're going to attack, and they leave the back door open. So this could go. This could be any score. If Wolves could score, I'd back Wolves, but I'm going to go with a 1-1. 1-1. I can't. Yeah, 1-1 for me.
Rathish, what's your thinking for this game?
I think the Bournemouth Wolves game, again, another interesting component in terms of the fixture, because Gary O'Neill's coming back to his old club, so he'll certainly have a point to prove. And the way he got sacked by Bournemouth was criminal, in my opinion, because last season he kept them up in the Premier League, and when you see him at Wolves, he's doing really well. Like he's had few results gone against him. Like, to be fair, Man United, Liverpool, they were competitive. The Man City game was perfect. Be clinical, be organised, and that's how you get a result against them. So again, I don't think Aaron Neal gets the credit that he deserves. I think, like Matt said, Wolves play really neat football at times. It's just finishing. Can they find that missing jigsaw? So yeah, I mean, prediction-wise, I think Wolves will nick it. I have a feeling they do because, like I said, recently they've picked up some good results. They beat City, as I mentioned, draw against Aston Villa, and on another day, who knows? So, but I think Wolves will continue that momentum. I think Bournemouth's wait for a win will go on because they're low on confidence. So Wolves will just edge it 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Wolves manager was sorry, I forgot his name. I know you just mentioned it. He was Bournemouth last year, like you mentioned. When Bournemouth came, O'Neill, sorry, that's it. It's been a long week, people. When O'Neill brought Bournemouth to White Hart Lane last season and what they did to us, and I just thought they completely outdid us, and in subs, in tactics, and absorbed the pressure, and they killed us off. And I remember that game, and I thought, this isn't a bad manager, this guy. And then the more you see the way he kept them up, yeah, he's a good manager. I fancy Wolves as well. I think I'm going to go 2-1 Wolves. I'm going to go 2-1 Wolves. Matt, did you predict?
I think I said it could be any score, but I think I said 1-1.
1-1.
Just slightly because Bournemouth are at home. I think Wolves will probably dominate possession, probably have the more clear-cut chances, but they just cannot score. They must have. I wish Will was here today to give us their XGs for Wolves because they must miss more chances than any other team.
Mate, I think Luton Town do. I think Luton. I don't know if Luton Town's top, but I know Luton Town create a lot and they miss loads. You saw it against us.
Oh, I was in Dubai watching that game, and I literally almost spilt my drink because it had a goal. And it fizzed across. It fizzed across. It was like that is a guaranteed goal. How that guy, if he tried that 10 times, he couldn't do that again.
Do you know what? I thought Richarlison's miss in the first 10 minutes was the worst of the season. Then Luton, they win. That Luton's was horrendous. But Luton missed City. Yeah, they did. Okay, so that's Bournemouth Wolves. And then does anyone care? Nottingham Forest versus Luton. It's 13th versus 17th. Both are kind of in a bit of a relegation spat, but Forest have been a bit resilient lately, picking up a lot of draws, not losing as many games. Luton just lose every week practically. Who's the home team again? Forest.
Going to be Forest.
Surely it's got to change for Luton at some point. Is this not one of those games where Luton might just fancy themselves? Like they might believe we've got a chance.
They've just signed Townsend, haven't they, on loan?
Andros Townsend.
Yeah.
Is he's still playing football?
He's just signed for Luton.
Is there a debut goal?
There you go.
Is it one of
you've got to say
Andros Townsend worldie?
He's one though, isn't it? He hits one every 2 seasons from about 30 yards.
I know.
No, you'd have to say Nottingham. Do you know they're another team like Wolves? You look at them on paper now; they've made some very clever signings.
Forest for me aren't as bad as people think they are.
They've made some really good. The guy from PSV in midfield, the big defensive midfielder.
Is it Sangare?
What a player he is.
PSV actually lost a lot of good players in the summer. They lost a lot of good players in the summer.
He's a good player, very good player.
Do you know what? I'm going to go 1-1. I think Luton are going to get something. I've got a feeling I've just got a feeling Luton will fancy that they've got a chance in this one, and I'm going 1-1. What about you guys?
Yeah, I agree. I'm going for a draw as well. I think mainly because like if Luton want to pick up some points, I think teams like Nottingham Forest they should target. I think against us, they missed sitters, and on another day they could have got on the score sheet. But yeah, I think Forest. I mean, Steve Cooper's a good manager. He puts a lot of emphasis on his home form. So, but yeah, I'm with you still. I think this is a score draw written all over it.
Score draw. What about you?
For me,
Matt?
I just the chances that they missed in the second half against us, I think that's scarred. I can't remember the name. The guy that he trod on the ball from about 2 yards when it was easier to just touch the ball when he trod on it. I can't see them scoring. I just 2-0 Forest.
2-0 to Forest. Okay.
Hudson-Odoi and I can't think of the other one, but 2-0 Forest.
Nottingham Forest Luton, that's throwback from back in the day, those kind of games, aren't they? When they were both Premier League regulars. When it used to be the Barclays.
Mark
Barclays.
Pembridge, Luton, they have a Mark Pembridge in midfield. Vaguely remember.
Yeah. That's freaking hell. You got a good memory, man.
I'm just old now. I'm just older than the rest of you two. So yeah. They had Mark Pembridge.
I'm not exactly young. I just don't have as good a memory of Luton Town's players. But let's go on to there's a big game this weekend. I mean, Man City, Brighton. You'd have to be a madman to guess which way this is going to go. So Brighton have got this knack habit of turning up against big teams. They play without fear. They just go for it. They've got goals in them. They can command possession, but Man City at home, it's a different ball game. They're not on the road. They lost away at Wolves. They lost away at Arsenal. These are away games at home. You'd fancy them. The last time Man City lost 3 in a row was 2016 when Pellegrini was manager. So we're going to have to go back 9 years. No, 7.
Wow.
7 years the last time City lost 3 in a row. Even to drop points, even if they draw. So, I mean, everything says Man City, but this Brighton team is no joke. Currently, Brighton are 6th in the league. They're only 2 points off Man City. Both teams go into this game slightly out of form. You think Brighton would have gained confidence getting a draw at the end of the game versus Liverpool. Man City on the back of 2 defeats. I don't think this is straightforward. I mean, a betting man will put their money on City, but I don't know. This has got the potential to be
An upset.
Yeah, I mean, Rodri's back though. That could be a game changer. Rodri's back. In fact, Rodri is back. Yeah, I'm going Man City. I've just realised Rodri changes everything. Actually,
I watched him play for Spain, in the international break, and he's such a clever player.
Yeah,
Just how he orchestrates the game. Yeah, he's an absolute magician.
What are you thinking, Rathish? Man City, Brighton. It should be a good game. It's gonna be one to watch, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, I think it will be it has the potential to be game of the weekend by far. I think, City against Brighton, I think two quality managers. I think with City, it's an interesting one because, they are going through a wobble at the moment. They've lost the last two. They got knocked out of the Carabao Cup. So, listen, they've set high standards and they're allowed to go through dips. So, but if they get players back from injury, Rodri coming back is huge for them, like you said, because without Rodri, their midfield is weak, so he's the one player that will dictate in the middle of the park. I mean, as for Brighton, they will certainly give the big teams a game for sure. But then they're a bit of inconsistent too. Like 1 week they look brilliant against Liverpool, the next week they look terrible against Aston Villa, i.e. the 6-1. So it's just basically Jekyll and Hyde. But I think the home form is going to dictate the outcome. It's going to be. I'm predicting goals, so I'm going for 3-2 City.
3-2 City, Matt.
I think you'd have to back Man City at home. I think even though Brighton are a team that I think will have a lot of the ball in the game, and I think they'll certainly pose a threat, but I think Kyle Walker will just lock up Matoma on the one side, who's a major asset for them. And what Rakesh was saying about Brighton is, if you look at some of their results this season, when they've had to juggle Europe and then the Premier League game on the Saturday, so the Villa game was just after the Thursday Europe, they've normally wobbled. They haven't quite mastered playing two competitive games in like 3 or 4 days. So even though they haven't got that this week, I just think Man City will just flex their muscles, be a very entertaining game. I think Brighton will score, but I'm going to go a 3-1 Man City.
3-1 Man City. Do you know, I'm just thinking when Brighton went to Villa and they got absolutely battered, I'm wondering if Man City are going to unleash. Part of me says, yeah, there'll be 1 or 2 goals in it. Another part of me says Man City, Haaland's going to score 4. Or do you know what? I'm going 4-1. I'm going 4 on Man City.
You know what, Stel? I look at Lewis Dunk and it just looks a little bit. I think the extra games in Europe, I know he's obviously made his England bow recently, but he's been at fault for quite a few goals for Brighton recently. They look just they don't look as solid at the back over the last month. So, yeah, I would be shocked if Man City don't win that game.
So, Rafish is 3-2, you're 3-1, I'm 4-1. We've all gone for a Man City win. The next game at St James's Park, Newcastle versus Crystal Palace. Now, Newcastle found a little bit of form recently, if you can see here. They've won 3 in a row and then a draw. They've only lost 1 game in 5 from a pretty shocking start to the season. Probably not having Europe for a week or 2 might have helped them a little bit, but they're back to the Newcastle of last season. How this Tonali thing will affect them, that's an 80 million euro player that they've lost now. That's how that's going to play out. That could go to court, that one, if Newcastle can prove that Milan sold them a player they knew was under investigation. But that all said, Crystal Palace as well found a bit of form lately. They've only lost 1 in 5 as well. They've won 2, drawn 2. So I don't think you can underestimate Crystal Palace. But one thing I'll say about Palace, they do not score goals. They've got one of the best defenses, but one of the worst attacks. And if you look at Newcastle, they've got one of the highest scoring teams in the league. In fact, the second highest scoring team. And they've got a fairly decent defence as well. So if we're going to go by numbers, it's got Newcastle win all over it. But that Crystal Palace defence is quite resilient. You know, it's not Mickey Mouse back two, although the wing backs are pretty shaky. They just don't score. I think if Newcastle get a couple of goals, I think it's over because Palace can't score. But you know, I'll go first for this one. I'm going to 1-0 Newcastle. They're going to win it by a goal.
Yeah, I think Crystal Palace are very organised. You know, you expect no less with Hodgson in charge. Very organised, especially away from home. So they will try and frustrate Newcastle for as much as they can. I worry about the right back. Is it Ward against Gordon? I think that's the weak link for me.
Apparently, Elise and Eze
I just
missing.
fancy Newcastle 2-0.
2-0. Rathish, apparently Elise and Eze are missing. That's
yeah. Thing. I think Elise's had I think they've had to do an operation on his hamstring, I believe. I think that he's had quite a bad injury, Elise. So there's question marks whether he'll play this year for Elise, and I think Eze's out for another. There's question marks whether Eze be fit for us either, so that's a bonus. But yeah, 2-0 Newcastle.
2-0 Newcastle. Luca 14, Tonali is not available to play. He's suspended. That's what I've understood. He's suspended. So,
Tonali?
Yeah. I've been told he's suspended. So, Rathish, what's your thinking of this one? Newcastle Palace.
I think Newcastle have really clicked at the right time because, you know, they've had a tough start initially, but to be fair, they played Man City, Liverpool, Brighton. You know, you want to get the hard games out of the way. But I think, again, Eddie Howe is showing why he's got lots of credit in the bank. I think he punched above his weight last year. This year, he's starting to juggle European and domestic football. Like the result against PSG spoke for itself. You know, brilliant win for them. I think Palace, you know, defensively they're so organised. You know, they got Joachim Andersen, Guehi, you know, who was flirting with the idea of being in England squad. I think so. They got a good base, but attack they just look. Yeah, they just look toothless. You know, no Elise, no Eze, where the goal's going to come from. So, I think they'll struggle to get on the score sheet. I think Newcastle will win by 2-0. Like 2-0 to the Geordies.
Okay, we've all gone. Well, you two have gone 2-0. I've gone 1-0. All right. Probably the biggest game of the weekend next. It's the late afternoon kickoff, London derby. Always entertaining. It's Chelsea versus Arsenal. Now, Arsenal are buzzing off of their deflected goal win against Man City. They are unbeaten this season. They've only drawn one in the last 5. They've won the other 4, so they're in fantastic form. Scored 16 goals, only conceded 6. They've got the joint best defence in the league with Manchester City. Whilst Chelsea have found a little bit of form. Having said that, it's not against the strongest opposition, Fulham and Burnley. They've won 2 in a row. Defensively, they're not bad. They're not bad at all. In fact, they're the joint second best defence in the league with Palace. Their problem is they don't take their chances, but the last couple of games, they've taken a few. So is this the Chelsea now finding its way under Poch and players beginning to find their groove? Or was it just, look, you played 2 really easy teams, back to reality, Arsenal going to smack you? And also for Arsenal, they pretty much always do well against Chelsea. Their record against Chelsea in recent years has been fantastic. They're normally Chelsea's bogey team, opposite to Spurs. Normally Chelsea's our bogey team. But everything would say an Arsenal win. Plus, Arsenal have got Martinelli back. There's rumours saying that Saka's back. Partey's back now. Arsenal fans all talking about seeing their dream midfield of Odegaard, Rice, and Partey. All the defenders are fit by Timber, but he wasn't the starter anyway. You'd say that Arsenal going into this with confidence, form on a high, and almost a full-strength squad. Did Chelsea really have a chance? Because a lot of Chelsea fans are saying that Arsenal fans are doing what they did with Spurs, where they underestimated us. And we went there and we gave Arsenal a game. A lot of Chelsea fans are saying now that Arsenal are underestimating them. I'm not so sure. I personally think Chelsea have played 2 easy games. But they aren't playing bad. Chelsea aren't playing bad. They're just not finishing their dinner. Matt, this is an interesting one. It really is. What do you make of this one?
Listen, there's so many matchups. If Reece James is fit, Reece James, Martinelli, Colwell versus Saka, the midfield, Casado, Partey, Rice. There's so many interesting matchups. I think we all know with Pochettino at Tottenham, it takes a while. It takes a while for his methods, his style, his message to get across to the players. And potentially the last couple of results flattered them a little bit, but I still have to say, at home, I think this is a closer game than people think. I know the form guide and everything else. This is a closer game, and I think Sterling has just got that like magic back in his boots. He just seems to be back like he was. He reminds me of the first couple of seasons at Man City, where he's very direct. He looked like he had the world on his shoulders the last year or so. He looked confused, and he seems to be his mind seems clear. He gets it out his feet, and he goes at his man. So if Ben White plays at right back and it's Mudryk or Sterling, I think that's a very, very interesting matchup. So to answer your question, I normally want them both to lose, but I've just got a sneaky feeling Chelsea 2-1. Sneaky feeling.
Right, Matt. Let me throw a curveball at you. You're saying Chelsea are going to score 2 goals, okay?
Yeah.
Do you know how many goals Arsenal have conceded away from home in the league this season?
Not many.
0.
Is it 0?
0. They haven't conceded on the road.
What a stat that is. Really?
Fulham scored 2 at their ground. Spurs scored 2 at their ground. United scored 1. And then they conceded another game. Was it Forest? Yeah, Forest. There's the 6 goals. At home, they concede. Away from home, they haven't conceded in the Premier League.
Incredible.
And you've just gone Chelsea 2-1.
Yeah. Honestly,
Do you want to change it, or are you going to go with it?
No. I'm all in. Sterling. I watched his last game. He looked brand new. He really did. He looked like a brand new footballer. Listen, it could go either way. There's so many match winners on both teams, so I'm not discounting Arsenal. If he was at the Emirates, and obviously it's an Arsenal win for me, but I just think smallish ground, Pochettino, Arsenal. There's so many matchups in this game. I'm going to go 2-1. I'll text you after. 2-1 Chelsea.
2-1 Chelsea. I tell you what, if you're right, that will be one hell of a result for the Premier League as a title race and whatever. But that could really boost Chelsea as well. Rathish, this is a really interesting game. This one. What do you make of it?
Yeah, you summed it up perfectly. Very interesting. Yeah, 2 arch London rivals playing each other tomorrow. I think, Arsenal have a very good record at Stamford Bridge. I think they've won their last 3 visits away at Chelsea in the Premier League. So their tails will be up. And obviously they're still unbeaten. Yeah. So, they will quite rightly go into this as favourites. But I think with Chelsea, being underdogs will suit them, because when the pressure's off, they perform. So I think, goal attacking wise, they have to fix up. Defensively, it's not too bad. So with them, it's finding the balance, and it's Chelsea. They can rectify it very somewhat. Like there's so many games to play this season, but I think we should see how the reception Kai Havertz will get when he comes against his old club. So
I hope he plays.
Well, you could ask, as you could also say that what kind of reception would Mudryk get, because he was meant to go to Arsenal and Chelsea took him, didn't they?
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
It's a bit of to and fro from both sets of fans. What's your prediction, Rafish?
Do you know what? I'm going to lean towards a draw. So I'm going for like 1-1. I think it's going to be a tight game. I feel, yes, Arsenal have got a very good defensive record. Like you said, if not conceded a single goal. But then the other side would they be a little bit overconfident after that Man City win? So, sometimes you get brought back down to earth with a odd result. That's just how football is. So, but yeah, nonetheless, I'm going for a 1-1 draw.
My heart says to me 1-1, but my brain says to me, I don't see how Arsenal don't win this. I think Arsenal will concede though. I think that will end 1-1, and then Arsenal make subs and Chelsea don't have the subs, and
a deflected 88th winner for Arsenal.
Penalty, Havertz to take it. I'm going 2-1 Arsenal. I think Arsenal will do it 2-1. I hope this prediction I'm wrong. I want to get that message from Matt. At 7:30 p.m. I want to get a text message from Matt.
I'm telling you, it's going to happen. It's going to happen still.
Well, I've gone for an Arsenal win. Matt's gone for a Chelsea win, and Rafish has gone for a draw. So none of us agree on what we think is going to happen in this one. That tells you all you need to know about this one. Another curveball. Sheffield United, Man United. Now, under any other normal circumstances, this is a Man United win. Sheffield United are awful this season. They're bottom of the league, the worst form of any club. They've conceded the most goals. Am I right in saying that? Yeah, conceded the most goals. They've scored the least. I mean, every stat says they are dog shit. Now, Man United, however, have got this habit this season of just playing so bad, like really bad. They were lucky against Brentford. Don't get me wrong. Look, they scored their goals, so they deserved the win, but they were not good. Man United were not good. Any normal time, you're saying, yeah, Man United win. But Man United this season, man, and they've got injuries again. Reguilón's back, I know that, but they've got injuries to both centre-backs, I think. Shaw's still out. Don't know if Casemiro's fit or not.
No, he's not even in the UK. He's still in Brazil.
Well, there you go. So, what? Rafish, you go first. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I actually don't know what to think with this one. I actually genuinely don't know what the hell to think with this game. Sheffield United, Man United. This is 10th versus bottom. Sheffield United have got 1 point. 1 point all year. They're horrendous. But it's Man United this season, man. Like you can't write off Man United cocking it up. What do you make of it?
Do you know what? It's actually really funny because, like you said, in a normal circumstance, Man United will win handsomely, like 3 or 4-0. But right now, they just don't look right. I've said it a few weeks ago, like it's not a happy camp there because you have so many problems, not just on the field with bad results, but off the field, with Jadon Sanchez be put up for sale now. The Anthony incident is hanging in the air. Also, Sheikh Jassim is pulled out of the bidding process to buy Man U. So, it's definitely not right. And I think, the performances haven't been up to required standard. I mean, the Brentford game, they were very, very lucky. Those last 2 goals in deep and added on time. I mean, but even as bad as they are, I still think they'll win pretty comfortably. So like 2-0, 2-0, 3-0. I mean, because the opposition they're up against, like they look diabolical. I mean, they let in 8 goals against Newcastle. So Man United should be able to get the job done. But again, it's football. You know, you can never predict it. Even a draw will not be a good result for them, because I think with the Manchester derby coming up next weekend, they need a good result for confidence. Yeah.
You could say the same for Man City. They need a good result as well against Brighton for their confidence, don't they?
Yeah, that's true.
What's your prediction, Rathish?
I'm going for 2-0 Man United.
2-0 Man United. Matt?
Yeah, it's hard to imagine how bad results-wise Sheffield United are, and they were like seconds away from beating us. It's hard to dream, isn't it? Can you imagine the 3 points we got? Stella, I'm going to ask you to cast your mind back here. We had a goalkeeper that reminds me of Onana. Do you remember a goalkeeper called Bobby Mims?
Yes.
So when he was in goal for Spurs, I jest you not, the shots were going wide, and he used to like parry it, and it used to go in our net. And Onana is going through that spell for Man United that some of the shots don't even look like they're going in, and he kind of gets a hand to it and it goes in. So they're in a real bad spot, Man United. But even with that in mind, Man United win.
What's your prediction?
2-0 Man United. Rashford, I'm even going to give you one of the goal scorers. Rashford, and I can't think of the other one, but Rashford will score.
Yeah, Matt, to add very quickly what you said with Rashford, he's not firing in all cylinders this season. But what's going to happen is if he scores tomorrow at Bramall Lane, then all of this will be forgotten. All of a sudden, United, some people say, oh, Rashford's back, you know, the critics are in the mud. Like, it's just how football nature works. So
he just doesn't. I know this has been said about him before, but he just doesn't seem happy. You know, you look him in the Man United shirt. He doesn't look. He's like he's playing with a rucksack on his back. He just doesn't. You watch him against Italy. He looked 5 yards quicker. You know, there was a purpose about him. Look how he was going past people. But you watch him recently from Man United, he looks like the world is on his shoulders. But having said all of that, I think he's going to score. Away from home, I fancy Rashford. He'll get one of the goals tomorrow.
Do you know, I don't know why I do this to myself. I know I'm going to be wrong, but there's
You're not
something
going
about
Sheffield, are you, Stal?
There's something about this game. There's something about Onana.
Watch it, Stal. The shots that have been going wide, and he's actually pushed them in. Watch it.
Do you know what? I'm going to be stupid. I'm going to regret it. I'm going 1-1. I'm going 1-1. I think it's going to be a draw. I think Sheffield are just going to do what Brentford failed to do. They're going to get the draw. I just feel it. This is all set up for a Man United meltdown. Okay, I've made my bed. The next game, Aston Villa West Ham. What an absolute cracker this is. Aston Villa, currently 5th in the league. Unai Emery's got them ticking. 1 loss in 5, 3 wins in the last 4, a draw in the last game. West Ham, a bit of an indifferent couple of weeks, but there's only 2 points that separates the two teams in terms of goals scored. Villa are better. Defensively, they're the same. You'd say that Villa slightly edge it. And also, Aston Villa, the home team, but it's the Clarets versus the Clarets. I mean, and they've both got something about them this season. This is one of those games that can go either way. This is one where it's very difficult to predict. You'd give Villa 1 point minimum because they're the home team. So at worst, you give Villa a draw. But if West Ham won or if Villa won, you wouldn't be surprised. It's one of those games. What would you make of it, Matt?
Yeah, two good sides. Really, really impressed me. The only worry for any Villa fans is Emery's bigging up Longley, saying Longley's looking really sharp, and he'll exactly. So
what?
Exactly.
What?
Honestly, Emery's been bigging up Longley, and I'm thinking, are you watching the same player? And the thing is, you've got Torres and Longley. Neither of them have got any pace. No pace whatsoever. So I actually think that if the fixtures start to thicken up, they've got Europe as well, Longley's going to start to play, and I cannot see a back four with Longley and Torres working in the Premier League. Too slow. I'm going to go with a draw. I just think this has got a draw written all over. I do like Villa going forward, though. They're a major threat. But I just think that West Ham, they've got something about them. I'm going to go with a 2-2.
2-2. Score draw. Desmond. Rathish.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I feel, two sides have had really good starts. I think with one thing we'll say about Unai Emery is he puts a lot of emphasis on his own form. I think, his record at Villa Park is impressive. So he can certainly beat any opposition on any given day. But I think with West Ham, the two defeats back to back, you have to throw in the fact they played the two of the best teams Premier League's had to offer in Man City and Liverpool, and they were close games, so they were competitive in both. But I think David Moyes just goes about his business quietly. I mean, he is he's stabilised that football club. He's won a trophy last season, so so quite rightly, his credit in the bank remains. So. But I think it's going to be goals in this game. I think Villa going forward look really dangerous, but defensively, they can be suspect at times. So I think with the attack West Ham have, they can certainly cause some problems. But I'm also going to go for Desmond 2-2 draw for this.
So you're both going for a score draw. Nah, not for me. I think Villa are going to win it. I think Villa at home, they've been so, in terms of results, they've been bloody good at home. And I think that just going forward, Villa have got that bit too much for West Ham. I'm going to go 3-1 Aston Villa. I think Villa are going to put it to bed. Be a great game, though. It's going to be close for quite a bit, but I think just Villa, if they get that break, if they get in behind, they're good. They're good this season. I'm going to go 3-1. So that leaves us the last game of the week. Well, I was going to say weekend, but Monday's after the weekend. It's the game we all want to see. It's the Spurs game. We're back at home. We've played 5 away games, so it's good to be back at home. At home, the atmosphere has been electric this season. The atmosphere has been wonderful. The performances have been good. We've beaten Man United. We've beaten Liverpool, and we've beaten Sheffield United. We don't have Basuma. He's suspended, which means either Skip, Højbjerg, or possibly Lo Celso might come in. Who knows? We do have an issue at one on the left. We don't know if Johnson's back. If he is, maybe he starts. I've got a funny feeling we'll probably start with Richarlison again, which I'm not in favour of, but it's opinion. The back four is all as we could expect. They're all fit and healthy. Touch wood. Romero is okay. Vicario in goal. Fulham, they've not been great. They've not been great this season. They're currently 12th in the league. They've won 2 games in the last 5. They've lost 2. They've drawn 1. They don't score many goals. The defense is average. Spurs, top of the league, undefeated, 4 wins out of 5. Third top goal scorers, third best defence. I think we're going to batter them. I don't think it's going to be this close, edgy game. I think we're going to do them. I'm going 4-1. I think Spurs are going to give them an absolute hiding 4-1. I'm very confident going into this game, which means it will finish 1-0 Tottenham. Because this is what happened when I said we're going to smash Luton 5-1. But I'm confident. I think 4-1. I think we'll concede because we've just got this knack of conceding. But I think we'll get a lot of goals in this one and we'll put them to bed. And the atmosphere is going to be brilliant under the lights. Night time. I think, it's going to be a good night for Tottenham. That's my opinion, with or without Basuma. Rafish, I'll come to you. What do you make of this one? Are you confident? Are you a little bit apprehensive? Is it going to be difficult without Basuma?
I think I should be fairly confident. I mean, the Basuma's going to be a big miss for Monday. I mean, obviously his red card was inexcusable against Luton. There's no need to do that. But he's had a very good start to the season. So it's a big error on his part. He'll learn from it. He should be back for the Palace game the following Friday. So, but I think who's going to play midfield will be interesting. I think if, Skip or maybe Højbjerg to partner up with Sarr potentially. So they need to grab an opportunity. And like you said, still, I think the atmosphere around this club is really exciting. It's good to see Spurs play attacking football, the manager, what he has done so far. So, I mean, obviously you can't take anything for granted. It's the Premier League. I mean, but our home form, again, is incredible. We played 3 of the big 6 already. So get them out of the way. And now is an opportunity to go out and make a statement. As Alan rightly said, 3 London derbies in a row. So Friday night Palace after Fulham, then Chelsea the following, the first Monday of November. So just each game as it goes. But yeah, I'm very confident about Spurs going out and perform on Monday night for sure.
Yeah, it's weird. We've got a game on Monday, then we've got 5 days later, we've got Crystal Palace, and then 10 days later we've got Chelsea. So I don't know who does their fixtures, but someone's messing around with us. But what's your prediction? Sorry, Rathish.
Prediction, I think I'm going for 3-1 Spurs.
3-1 Spurs. A very confident set of results that we're predicting so far. Matthew, are you going to keep the trend, or are you less? Less confident?
I think at home. I think the fixture has been kind, really, because we don't play till Monday evening. So I think that extra couple of days, and Postecoglou said in his press conference that, that's going to make a huge difference because he's got a couple of players like Johnson that need that extra couple of days of training. So I think if you can ever call the Premier League match comfortable, a 3-1 home win. I still think we'll concede just the way we play, but I think it could be an easy 3-0, and then I think they'll probably get a consolation goal late on. I think Højbjerg will start. In his press conference, he kind of said that the natural kind of successor sounds like Højbjerg, so it would make sense to go with Højbjerg, have Sarr slightly further advanced, and then have Maddison in the 10 role. I'm gonna go with Richarlison, Son, and Kulu as the front 3. But I'm really excited to see Johnson. If he's fit, I really think he's going to be such a foil, because he's got this blistering pace that, barring Son in spurts, we don't have. So especially when the game gets stretched 70th minute onwards, and those gaps in the pitch, Johnson's going to be an absolute asset for us once he kind of gets his mojo. So yeah, I'm in a good place with Spurs. I think a comfortable win, and we just tick the next one off.
a couple of questions for you guys. First of all, is it easier or harder to be the team that plays last on the weekend? Because you know what all the results are like. So if let's say Man City draw with Brighton, Chelsea beat Arsenal, does that put pressure on us to just open a little gap? Likewise, if Arsenal beat Chelsea, Man City beat Brighton, Liverpool beat Everton, that also puts pressure on us to keep ourselves up there, right? So do you think going last is a good thing or a bad thing?
I'll go. I think when it comes to going last, I mean, if I'm being brutally honest, it doesn't make a difference. Mainly because we're still very early in the season. So after this weekend finishes, we're 9 games in. So I think if we continue to punch above our weight, if we continue to be there or thereabouts come December, January, February time, or even December for that matter, then we might have a completely different conversation. But until then, I still think it's a bit too early days for sure. So whatever happens, I think Spurs have to be prepared for those eventualities coming their way.
Matt, have you got a take on this, whether it's good or bad? The last game of the weekend.
Still, I've been following Spurs for 40 years, so there's never a good time for Spurs. Normally, we always seem to have it in our grasp, and then to go top of the table or to get into the top 4, and we chuck it away. But I think there's an inner steel that's starting to be introduced into us under Postecoglou. So I'd rather us play, especially after an international break, I'd rather us play last. Romero's travelled halfway across the world, so's Son. So on this occasion, especially at home, those extra 2 days of training, I think I agree with you. I think we're going to put down a marker, because even though we've won matches and come back in matches, I think the last 2 or 3 games we haven't been quite convincing. And I think we're going to on Monday put in a really convincing.
So to interrupt you guys, I can read in the comments just saying there's issues with the stream and it's buffering. Just so you know, I think it's a StreamYard problem, because I was watching some other football shows later this week. Earlier on today and yesterday, and they were all complaining about problems with the software that we use. It's called StreamYard. That's how we produce these shows live, and they were all complaining about it. So I'm just wondering if it's an issue with the actual software that we use, not actually on our end, because Matt, Rathish, and we all use different software. So for the whole thing to be not working means it's the company that we all use for the streams.
Can you just put up Brendan Chase's comment? That is class. I like that.
Upcoming Brazilian king.
No. The one at 11:07.
Brendan Chase.
Yeah, 11:07.
Richie Talk just stripped the internet.
He's just, if you go on the other shows, he must be in the top 10 players in the Premier League that every other show talks about. If you go on any other site, if they talk about Spurs, they go Richarlison. He must be the most talked about Spurs player.
Yeah, because he's a talking point, because he's drama, isn't it? People always drive towards the negativity. The same way people dig out Kai Havertz. I mean, Kai Havertz has caught himself a bit of life because he made a 5-yard pass to Martinelli to score a deflected goal. Suddenly Havertz is great. I mean, freaking hell. Richarlison did a similar pass for Kulusevski when we scored the winner against Sheffield United. So a big deal. But it's when you spend a lot of money on a player and they just don't do much. This is what's going to happen, and every club's going to jump on it.
So, okay, I think I know the answer to this question. What's your view on Richarlison? Rakish first, and I think I know Stell's answer. But where are you? Where are you with Richarlison?
I'm not answering. I refuse.
Yeah, I don't blame you still. Yeah. I think with me, I think Richarlison, like, you know, I think we can all agree he's the biggest source of frustration at Spurs. Like, you know, I think, you know, you could argue he hasn't had a lot of game time last season, which is true. You know, Harry Kane, you know, he was first choice. He's been chipping in goals for fun. But whenever he has an opportunity, he just basically crumbled, if that makes sense. I know he scored a goal against Liverpool last season, sort of back end of last season, done the chicken celebration. That came in and bite him on the backside. I think normally with players like that, you would give him a second chance. But if he doesn't pull his weight this season, then you have to consider strongly putting him on the transfer list. Like, if he continues to drop stinkers. So that's my stance on it.
So,
I just don't see how much more time you give a player. Like, it's not like he needs time to bed into the Premier League. It's not like he needs time to learn how to play in big games. He plays for Brazil. He's Brazil's number 9, for crying out loud. I mean, he played for Everton for years. He played at Watford in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And I just don't buy it. I just think he's now come to a club where the expectation's higher, the football is better, and he just can't deal with it. He's just not a good footballer, in my opinion. I think he has good moments, but that's it. I don't enjoy watching him play. I don't enjoy, like, you know, when Johnson came on, I think it was against Sheffield United. The ball's come over, his first touch, the way he killed it, and then he put it into the goal. I thought, whoa, you know, I enjoy watching a player that can do that. I enjoyed that moment. I just don't enjoy Richie. It's not for me.
He's an awkward footballer. You know, it's really an effort. You know, as a professional footballer, things should be second nature to be able to control a ball and look like you know what you're doing. But he looks like he's just started playing football. I'm just, reason for the question is, he can't, I was going to say divides opinion, but I don't even think he divides opinion, because it's like, it's a resounding no. But there's
hardly any Spurs fans left who are defending it anymore.
True.
It's literally just, I mean, the chances are he'll score 2 goals against Fulham, will win the game because of his goals, and he's bought himself another 5 games. And he's like Lamella. He just does enough to just keep himself there, to be part of it. You know, like Lamella will score a wonder Rabona. Well, give him another 10 games. Yeah, give him 10 more games. There you go. I don't know. Well, I've got a question for you guys, actually. Are we as Spurs fans getting a little bit overhyped with certain players, or is there actually something there that we should genuinely be saying, no, they're that good, right? Because it is still early doors. I'll give you an example. So Will and I did a show. Well, Will did a show. I was a guest on his show, where he proved that Romero is better than Saliba. Right? It was. I'm not going to get into the conversation because you might have a different opinion. Go watch the show is all I'll say to people. Watch the show before you decide, okay? Because a lot of people off the back of it were surprised. So are we overhyping Romero? And then there's all these facts about Son and Spurs and work rate. You know, Son's come top. Vicario's come top for save percentages. And Maddison completely has outdone Odegaard this season. So Odegaard, Vicario, Son, Maddison, Romero. Are we getting overhyped because of all these wonderful stats and numbers? Or do we genuinely have some freaking amazing players at this club and we've got every right to give it large? I mean, it is only 8 games. I have to say that.
Ratish, you go on. You go
thanks, Matt. I think the way I see it is,
I was about to say, Matt's trying to buy some time to think.
The guy, yeah.
No, you go, Ratish. You go.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Anyway, I mean, with me, like I would tend to look at it from both sides, of the argument. I mean, half of me thinks that some Spurs fans are getting a little bit over the top. I mean, yes, it's been a fantastic start to the season, and certain players are getting overhyped. Like, I mean, Vicario, when he first came in, he was an unknown commodity, but so far he's settled in nicely. He's pulled off some important saves. He can play out from the back. I mean, defensively, we looked reasonably pretty solid. Romero, I mean, with Romero, it's an interesting one because if you have a younger defender next to him, that he'll learn from it and be able to raise his game. I think last season at times he became erratic, so I think so far he's starting to learn from his mistakes. I mean, Basuma's had a great start. Madison settled in nicely. So far, I mean, players have really ticked, really, performing as a unit. So that's one side. I mean, the other side would be, so, I mean, to your point, Stel, so, Postecoglou's come in and already the style of football's there for everyone to see. It was entertaining, attacking. So yeah, I think some Spurs fans should not go over the top. I mean, Spurs fans should be happy, rightly so. We're all happy with the way the brand of football is. But I mean, let's hope they can replicate that style in the next 2 to 3 months down the line. So, and then we'll make actual judgments. That is for sure.
Yeah. So before I go to Matt, Sean, I'm not talking about us getting overhyped over the team. I'm talking about us getting overhyped over certain players. That's all I'm trying to. I'm trying to state. What's your thinking, Matt?
Yeah, no, I don't think we're getting overhyped on the individuals. I think my barometer is before the Arsenal game. If you went on every show, and there was quite a few of them, and they said combined 11, and I think on the majority of them, not one Spurs player was considered in the combined Arsenal-Tottenham 11.
I mean, who did that? I mean,
right?
What idiot? Son is better than any striker they've got. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, but at the time,
yeah,
majority of the Arsenal fan base and the other fan bases, the Chelseas and whatever else, they didn't include any Tottenham player, and there was maybe a question mark over some.
Wasn't that more hate though, Matt? Wasn't that just hate?
Yes. But what I mean though is even the other fan bases that were on the shows, so that'd be Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United, they were in agreement.
They all hate us as well, Matt.
Yeah. But what's interesting still is since that game and the games that have followed, the pendulum's changed. So if you now say a combined 11 or team of the season so far, I think there's an argument for 4 or 5 Tottenham players to be in the reckoning, whether you put them in or not, but they're in the argument. So Vicario, obviously Alisson probably gets the shout, but most people have given a shout out for Vicario. Obviously you got Van der Ven, Romero. Porro's even getting a mention now as he surprised a lot of people. A lot of people have raving over Destiny as probably the standout left back in the league this season. So I think that answers your question really, because the eye test has changed because people have now seen Spurs play against Arsenal, against Liverpool, against Man United and the other games and said, Spurs have got some players. They're now saying, Stel, if you listen to some of the shows, they're now saying Spurs have to win something or they won't keep their players. So the conversation is now changing.
I saw that, Matt, on other shows, other YouTube channels.
Yeah. That's the biggest compliment. Instead of giving Tottenham a compliment, their kind of back-ended compliment now is if Spurs don't win something, they're going to lose their players.
Yeah,
to be
I
fair,
just think it's just a silly statement, really. Go on, Stel.
I agree with that over the longer term because that's why Kane left. That's why Berbatov left. It's why Danny Vertonghen, sorry, Kyle Walker left, Modric. So your best players, your elite players, yeah, they will go eventually. The only one that's been elite that's stayed and has shown unbelievable loyalty is Heung-min Son. You know, I can't believe he's still with us. Harry Kane wanted out a few years ago. So in the short term, that's a stupid comment. You can't say that for this season and next season.
Of course it's a stupid comment, but what I'm saying is that is their backhanded compliment of how good some of our individual players are. Yeah,
that's right. Don't praise us. Just tell us we're that good that it's going to have to fall apart. Yeah, okay, get it. Yeah, I get it.
You see what I mean? I watched the game with a few Italian fans, the match in the week, and they were all going a doji. They were like, "Wow!"
Yeah,
I mean,
good player,
honestly,
really good player.
He is like
scary. Are you guys surprised how quickly all of our signings have hit the ground running? Udogie, Mickey van der Ven, Vicario, Maddison, they've all come in and literally there's no bedding in time, there's no transition, there's no getting used to the... When does that ever happen at any club in any given window? Ever?
Well, players come in and hit the ground running straight away. It's mad, isn't it? I mean, the only example...
That's what I mean, Matthews. I've never... Even Man City. There's always one like... it took Grealish a year to adapt. Calvin Phillips hasn't quite settled it. Arsenal, Kai Havertz, not quite. Tottenham, they've all just come in and we're top of the table.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, and the thing is, instantly improve the starting 11 straight away. I was going to say one example I can only think of was back in the day when Van Persie joined Man United. Sir Alex signed him, and he bagged 20-odd goals. That's why they won the title. I think that's about it, really.
Yeah, but that's one player. I'm not talking about every player you sign in a window. Just...
I know me. Our window. Yeah. It's struggling to think.
I think what's happened as well, Stel, is the players that were maybes that were here from last season, they've kind of, their performance has improved so much. It's almost like they've watched Van der Ven and Udogie come in and thought, well, that's the bar. The bar's now been Sapporo now. I mean, I don't hear anyone talk about Emerson Royale. I don't hear that conversation anymore. That has been firmly put to bed. Who is Tottenham's right back, you know? And he's done that almost under the radar. Under the radar, he's done that.
Yeah, Matt, and also to back up what you're saying, Basuma kicked on from last. Yeah, that's the thing. He struggled first season due to injuries and game time. This season, different player. He's now starting to become the player we're accustomed to at Brighton when we signed him.
And if you remember, Stel, we had quite a lengthy phone call in the summer, and I was talking to you about Romero. And if you remember, I said to you that if Tottenham get a centre half that he trusts, he will reduce. You know, he used to go on these like 5-10 minute walks into midfield and try and flatten someone. And remember I was saying to you that if he looks around and he hasn't got Dyer to the right of him, he hasn't got Ben Davies to the left of him, you know, he hasn't got Skip in front of him, and he can see people doing their jobs, it will almost reduce his stress levels. He's almost one of these hyperactive footballers that he kind of has to go out and put out fires. And it's almost now like, because people are doing their jobs, he can kind of stay in his little area and just concentrate on his game.
On this channel, we were saying it when people were criticizing Romero. We were saying no.
Yeah.
Put some players around him so he's not having to do the job of three, and then we'll see.
Yeah.
I remember we were arguing this every week with people in the comments. Romero's erratic. He's washed. He's overrated. There were other channels jumping on the Romero, he's not world class. It's a nonsense. And I sat there listening to it. Look, everyone's allowed their opinion. But I remember thinking, come on, man. Come on. How good was Gabriel as soon as Saliba got injured last season? Arsenal freaking collapsed. The entire season collapsed. But yet, Romero, he's got to carry a Spurs team that's so dysfunctional, it's so toxic, the club. What can you do? You say it, and then when it happens, everyone just pretends like it never occurred, right?
He's a better player than this, but do you remember Dawson? If Dawson played with Ledley King, he was a different player.
Yeah, he couldn't play without Ledley.
Yeah.
He couldn't play without Ledley.
If Ledley King was injured, Dawson looked clumsy, sluggish, erratic. The moment Ledley King was next to him, he looked an accomplished Premier League defender. And that's almost, it's all about partnerships. And I think Van der Ven's so calm. He's so almost passive on the pitch that he kind of just calms Romero down a little bit. Just stay on your feet and see the danger out. So we've done some unbelievable business in the summer. Unbelievable business.
Okay, right. I want to ask you both this now. So have all our players settled in so well because we've actually bought players that the manager wanted, that he believed suits his system? Or have we never done this before in the past? Therefore, when we've bought loads of players, 2 were good, 3 were average, 2 were crap. I remember Mourinho when we signed Joe Rodon, Doherty. We signed
Højbjerg,
Bergwijn, Carlos Vinicius up front.
Vinicius and Gedson Fernandez.
Gedson Fernandez. I remember signing all these players and I thought, I've never known in my entire life where Mourinho's been a winner, where this is the kind of transfers that the club he's at make. And I thought, this seems weird. Is this what? So is it a case, actually, we've never really brought in constant players that the manager requires for the way he wants to play? Whereas for Ange, Van der Ven, commanding centre-half, can play out from the back, technically good. Udogie gets up the flank, wins the ball high up the pitch with the press, sets off the attacks high up the field of play. Maddison, press resistant. Maddison, the creative spark we haven't had for about 4 years. Vicario, a goalkeeper that can actually distribute the ball as well as save. So is it a case, actually, we've bought players that suit the system. This is why they've hit the ground running. Plus, Ange has, brought it all together as well. Let's not take anything from the manager. Are we being a bit... Because I'm trying to think, is this all because of the manager, or is it because the club has actually adapted the way it goes about transfers?
I think it's a bit of everything. Yeah. I think it's that's fine. I think it's a bit of everything. I mean, the manager's come in, hit the ground running. He's implementing the style of play that Spurs fans are buying into, and the togetherness and the camaraderie. We all like it. I mean, whereas the transfers itself, we managed to buy shrewd signings. We're buying players just to improve the starting 11. Obviously, obviously we need more, like for squad depth. As the season goes on. So I think January should be the priority for squad depth. That is for sure. So, I mean, in previous windows, like we spend money, but on the wrong players in the past. So whether it's Mourinho, Conte in charge, etc. But with Ange coming in, he's saying all the right things in the camera, and he will sign players he believes that could fit the system for sure. So that's how I see it.
Because one thing I will say to defend Conte and Mourinho is that they both wanted quality centre-back signed, and they got Clement Longley and Joe Rodon. And Ange has arguably been given the best centre-back we've signed since Vertonghen.
That's very true.
Left-sided centre-back I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So... I'm with you guys. I think it's a bit of both. I think the environment the manager's created and the way he's got us playing plus the transfer business. I think it's
I think
a combination
as
of both.
well, Stel, I think the morale, we was at our lowest ebb. Let's not forget how the season finished. And I think,
100, yeah, 100.
The pressure finally, and I've called Levy rhino skinned, but I think finally the pressure even got to him. The fans chanting him out at home matches, that being broadcast all over the world. I think he finally conceded, I cannot keep doing the same thing. I've been an absent owner in regards to recruitment, and I think he finally realised, not 360, I don't think he's done the full 360, but I think he's come a little bit more towards change, a little bit more towards it, because I think he's realised the neglect that he has given that playing squad over the last 4 years has resulted in an 8th finish and 3 managers in 6 months and so on and so on. So I think it's all of what you guys have just mentioned, but also the pressure from the fan base. And that cannot be underestimated. All these shows, all the social media, I think it got to him. I think he heard it. I think his marketing team saw it. And I think it definitely had an impact.
Well, we're going to find out in the January transfer window, because for me, that's where I'm going to really begin to gauge my judgment on whether or not it's a changing culture or not. 3SS Sports, you said, did we get lucky with Udogie because he was signed and loaned back? That was part of the agreement. Udinese wouldn't let us sign him unless we loaned him back for the remainder of the season. So that was the only way we could sign him. A bit like Arsenal, they got Saliba because they agreed to loan him back, whereas Spurs, we would have got the Saliba, but we didn't want to loan him back, which was a mistake and a half. But
so Juventus was also in for Udogie. The only way we got the deal is Juventus insisted on him coming straight away, and we said, no, you can have him for another year. That's how we got Udogie, which is a masterstroke now.
We learned our mistake with Saliba, because the same thing happened in the Saliba, and he would have come to us because we were the better team at the time. We absolutely screwed it. But listen, guys, we've been going for an hour and a half. That's all we do on a Friday. We just go over the weekend's fixtures and a little bit more on Spurs because we are Spurs fans. But I just want to quickly say thank you to Matt and to Rafish. Guys, thanks again, as always.
Pleasure as always, Sal. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on.
And we will be back next Friday. Oh, no, we won't. Actually, Friday's a watch-along because we've got Palace away. So we'll turn this into a post-match review show. There you go. So we will see you next week in a post-match review. Hopefully Spurs get us a win this weekend. Big up to everyone in the chat. Make sure you like, subscribe to the channel before you leave. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
The first game we look for, Robbie. Tottenham away. When we got Tottenham away. Tottenham away. When we got Tottenham away.